Hello, my name is Chris Chang. I'm a planner with the City of Ann Arbor Planning Department, and we have a couple of guests, Brian and Meg Fennick, who happen to own an ADU in the City of Ann Arbor, and we thought this would be a great opportunity for them to explain some of the pros and cons of constructing an ADU in the City of Ann Arbor. Let me give a brief introduction if you want to introduce yourselves.
Sure. Meg Fennick, and this is my husband, Brian.
Great. And what was ultimately the reason why you decided to construct an ADU in your detached garage?
Well, the first conversation was about a new garage. We had more of a shack than a garage. And so as we were planning out building a new garage, we talked about building a space above it as sort of like a multi-purpose use. So both for home office potential as well as rental potential.
And then when the previous ordinance was amended to allow for the hookup of utilities to the existing home as opposed to new hookups to the sewer, that obviously reduced the cost considerably. And so we began to have discussions then about, well, maybe we can, make this into a dwelling, with a full kitchen and bath as opposed to just, heated or climate controlled space. Like we can actually, do more with that for guests of ours, family. And then ultimately, we thought about, well, maybe there's, some rental opportunity there for people who are looking for a place and maybe, are priced out of other markets and, add some inventory for those types of people.
During the construction, and now that it sounds like you may have a renter in the ADU, did you have any issues with the surrounding neighbors?
No, if anything, we had neighbors stopping by and dropping notes in our mailbox to ask about our process and our plans because they wanted to build a similar type of structure on their property. So we didn't have any problems, any complaints, really nothing but actually compliments of like, wow, that's a really nice looking garage you have back there. So it was really smooth during construction.
Well, and I think that, the structure itself was not intimidating. I will say that obviously anytime there's construction involved on, city lots, you have to be very mindful, obviously, of not being too disruptive. And I'm sure that, because it took quite a while, I'm sure that some of our neighbors probably had moments during construction where it was like, okay, how long is the driveway going to be torn out or whatever it may be. So we understand that. We try to be as respectful as possible during the process for that.
So how long did it take you to get through, let's say, the initial submission of your permits to the actual certificate of occupancy, would you say?
That was about a year and a half.
That's what I was thinking.
It was about a year and a half. But much of that was, it was less to do with permitting review and more about, I was kind of general contractor on it and I did a lot of the work myself. So that kind of slowed things down. And then other times when we would get other contractors on board and they would, then they would have permitting. And then ultimately, as busy as the building department was at the time, scheduling inspections put a little bit of delay here and there, just in terms of getting them scheduled. But all the inspectors were great. It was just, it was just harder to get an inspection. But I know that the city's now doing some video inspections and also the same day permit reviews. So if we were doing this now, I foresee that some of those issues, we might have been able to shave off a few months just based on that. And obviously, it's not like it wasn't my full-time job. So,
coordinating.
I probably cost us, a little bit of time too. I'll accept ownership of that.
Okay. And probably we'll wrap this up and then we'll have you at our question and answer session in a little bit. But is there any suggestions you would have as far as amending the ordinance or anything that you can see that you think that may be helpful to get more people in the city of Ann Arbor to apply for an ADU?
Mhm. So I feel like we've been fortunate in that we've already had 3 long-term rentals or renters. But there were people we had to turn away that wanted a shorter term stay. So I feel like the 30-day minimum is a bit of a hurdle for renting it out. I can think of a family who I think one of their children was having surgery at the university hospital, and they wanted a place to stay, but it was only for 10 days, right? So there have been times when we've had to turn people away who would have come to Ann Arbor, and I think it would have been a good fit for them. But sticking with the 30-day minimum has been a bit of a barrier.
And also, I think in conversations that I've had with people who've asked about a building an ADU, that has been a deterrent for many of them, not because they want to primarily use it for short-term rentals, but because they don't have the flexibility to do it at all, over the course of a year. And they're not super cheap. They're not super affordable to build, right? And so anytime you can't have. I mean, if you don't have a student living in it, let's say over the summer, and you can't rent it out for that, maybe a surrounding art fair,
or
graduation. That's a huge deterrent for somebody, because it's like, I won't be able to do that. Well, we were considering that as part of the revenue stream for it. Also, too, I think that the disparate treatment between short-term owner-occupied short-term rentals and ADUs, not only in the way that they're allowed to operate, but also the way that they're taxed, I think is a deterrent for many as well. Because as it stands right now, if you have an ADU, the portion of your property that's an ADU, you lose your homestead exemption for that. So it's not, they say it's not your principal primary residence. So you lose whatever percentage of it is. And then obviously your taxes go up from being assessed as well, or reassessed on the entire property. So when I've had that discussion with people too, that was kind of like whoa, that could really be a significant number. And again, I mean, if I'm an owner occupied Airbnb and I rent a few times, I rent a total of, let's say, 90 days throughout the year, do I lose my principal residence exemption for that? And so the disparate treatment there, I think, is a lot for people to swallow.
No one's looking for higher taxes in Ann Arbor.
Right.
Okay, great. That is a fantastic summary. I look forward to asking and hearing from you a little bit later in the evening, and I appreciate all of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thanks,
hosting
Chris.
us.
Okay.